Hello, my name's Arash.
My name's Leah.
My name's Alek, and for our interview, we decided to interview Tanner and Eric. They are two entrepreneurs finishing up their fourth year in philosophy and biology at Laurier. So our group member Leah had a mutual friend with Tanner that allowed us to connect with him and conduct this interview. So their company is called Dividier, and they're coming up with an innovative flask. Unfortunately, we're not able to share too much about what their flask does, just to keep their confidentiality in place and so that no one can take their idea. But in terms of how we prepared for this interview, we completed many tasks to ensure that we could come into the interview knowledgeable with good solid questions that would allow us to gain as much information as we could. First, we dug up information about Tanner and Eric's background through Leah's friend. Through that, we found out that Tanner was a fourth year philosophy student and Eric was a fourth year biology student, both at Laurier. Second, we took some time to jot down some key questions to ask Tanner and Eric upon our interview. So we divided our questions into three sections: questions that we thought were important, questions related to course content, and questions related to the 5 effectuation principles.
So first we asked Tanner how his company got started. We learned that growing up he had a passion for entrepreneurship and dabbled in a few different landscaping and renovation businesses. However, he was first formally introduced to becoming an entrepreneur after taking an entrepreneur class at Laurier. This course taught him the fundamentals, kind of like what we're currently learning in class right now about entrepreneurship. This class also gave him exposure to a program called Launchpad, which was held at Communitech. Launchpad is run by the Schlegel Center, and they provide support, mentorship, and resources to startups in all different industries. It was founded by Laurier students, alumni, community members at the Waterloo and Brantford campuses. So once they were accepted into the Launchpad program, after they gave a pitch and provided a business model, they had weekly classes and presentations that allowed them to envision their product, and then ultimately that led them to create their product. After asking them how they came up with their idea, we were surprised to find that they first came up with the idea when they were drinking one night at a party, which just goes to show that you don't have to have a special mindset or special brain to come up with an idea. This goes to show that the idea that Professor Weston had highlighted throughout the class as well: if you see a problem and you have an idea, you can turn it into a business.
And once they had their idea, they signed up for Launchpad 1.5 years ago, gave a pitch, and sent in their business model. They were accepted into the program and began weekly classes and presentations, including how they were going to advance their product. We asked them if they were familiar with Guy Kawasaki's top 10 slides, and they were surprisingly familiar with them. They mentioned the 10 slides with 30-point font is very effective and can deliver the message very efficiently. Through the Launchpad program, they were able to develop many resourceful connections and network with many entrepreneurs pursuing different ventures. One useful connection was made with a guy with a 3D printer business called Lani Labs. Through this worthwhile connection, they were able to make their first prototype. This comes to show how much network and connections are in the world of business. Another component of the Launchpad program including validating their product. We have discussed this topic widely in class when we discussed how it is very important to get a sense of the demographic and if the product would be successful. So every week for 7 weeks, they would go into areas where their demographic would include a large student population like universities. And they would obtain 50 surveys on what people thought about the problem they were trying to solve. With these surveys, they were able to determine that there was a need for their product, and that validated it. This allowed them to pursue their idea.
Upon validation of their product, they began to approach larger store managers and use the same tactic with the surveys and emailed product managers many times with their product idea. This is how they got their product in engraved things. So in class, we discussed the Bluegrass Wedding Center case study, and we were able to identify many setbacks that the couple had in terms of financing and partnering for the couple that was trying to run their wedding center. So based on this case study, we asked Tanner and Eric if they experienced any setbacks during their initial process. The initial setbacks they experienced was integrating the product into stores. When they approached the store retailer, the store wanted a legitimate manufactured design instead of a 3D prototype. So they are slowly working on developing the manufactured product by outsourcing to China. This led them to talk about another setback of being first to the market with their product. They said it was important to keep their idea confidential so that no one could copy it, especially overseas. This is a concept that Professor Weston has also emphasized during class. Being first to market will allow them to have a greater chance of obtaining more market share if competitors did decide on doing something similar. Tanner and Eric also emphasized the importance of obtaining a patent on their product so that it would be a legally binding document that would protect them from anyone else doing the same thing. They are planning on manufacturing their parts in China to take advantage of the lower costs and bringing it back to Canada to put it together to keep it on home ground. So they're planning on producing less product when they initially bring it to market to see if they gain traction, and if they do, they hope to create a high demand for the product, and at that time they will gradually produce more units.
So to close out the interview, we asked them if they had any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs like ourselves. The advice was straightforward and effective. They said to take advantage of the resources that are available to you. For example, Launchpad is a brilliant resource to take advantage of. It can help your business get off the ground. The second piece of advice they gave us was to work hard. Nothing in life comes easy, and if you want to see the results, you got to put in the work. They had many sleepless nights where they simply worked on their product, which has finally gotten to this stage. This is relatable to how Professor Weston first started his company while completing his MBA and running his family at the same time. It is very inspiring and motivating to hear stories like these.
So the first effectuation principle, bird in the hand, is about the initial resources available for the opportunity you wish to pursue and working with what you already have. Tanner and Eric demonstrated this by using all the knowledge they acquired from the entrepreneurship class and also using the resources and connections that were available from the Launchpad program. The second effectuation principle is affordable loss, which focuses on how to minimize losses rather than gaining profit. Tanner embodied this principle through his tactic of surveying the desired demographic population to see if his product would be successful. Furthermore, he started off with less inventory to see if the market will respond prior to obtaining a lot of inventory. The third effectuation principle is patchwork, aiming to work with other businesses instead of competing with them. This principle was met when Tanner collaborated with a 3D printing company he ran into at Launchpad called Lanny Labs. This company helped him develop his 3D prototype and in turn received publicity whenever Tanner talks about how his company started. They also mentioned partnerships with a photography business. This business allowed them to get good quality photos to advertise their product, and in turn, it allowed the photography business to be exposed to new demographic and potentially more clients.
Right, so the fourth effectuation principle is lemonade, which deals with unexpected surprises. The goal is to remain flexible to existing goals where the end product might change. This was demonstrated in Tanner when he approached the store manager with their 3D prototype, but the store wanted to see a legitimate manufactured design. This incident allowed them to network and develop manufacturing partners in China that could produce this product for cheap. The fifth effectuation principle is pilot in the plane. The message is to not build ideas based on trends and don't try to guess the future. This principle was identified when we learned how Tanner came up with the idea of his business. Him and his friend came up with the idea when they were drinking at a party. They identified a problem and built a business idea out of it.
So overall, this interview was very informative, and we were able to make many connections on what we've learned in class so far. Going forward, we can use some of this information that we've obtained to make ourselves better entrepreneurs. Thanks.
Was to work hard. Nothing in life comes easy.